Welcome, everyone, to The Relevance of Now with William Linville. I'm your host, Michael Connell, and I'm here with William Linville. Hey, Will.
Hey, Michael, how you doing, buddy? Are you having a blast?
Having so much fun, thank you. And Will, we're going to chat today about the correlation between life mastery and emotional mastery. Can you share what your perspective is on what life mastery really means for us?
Life mastery is a beautiful unfoldment of yourself, constantly unveiling and unveiling all these pieces and parts of oneself, getting to really know oneself, integrate, embody oneself, one's higher self, and your higher levels, as well as the higher vibratory levels of yourself that you're bringing into the physical form that has no constructs, has no conflicts, has no limits, no barriers. And then we bring that through, right, through the body, but now especially through the heart, where we're coming from the heart, through the heart, into an expression in all areas of our life, from the male and female attributes, the body attributes, all the chakra level vortexes, to where we also address employment or being an employer. We address society. We address being a husband, a bride, a parent, a child, grandparent, on and on and on. Now, if we could take all of that to physical, financial, and optimum health and well being in all areas of your life, where no one, no thing within ourself do we let have all this power over oneself, to where you get lost in the shuffle and you go into panic survival mode. The point here would be to be able to emanate that light, emanate that love, be in that state of light, of love, which is being in that state of your own presence, being that state of and as yourself, where on all levels of our life, everything is working, it's flowing, it's flourishing. No situation, whether it be societal, whether it be global, whether it be through culture, color, and creeds, where you really go beyond all that and you let everything be outside of you, but nothing has the power to overtake you, to take you as that love, as that light beingness, as creator expressing through its physical incarnation, that nothing has the power to take you out of that, and not even the ego sense, where the ego creates all these beliefs, perceptions, and all this fun stuff that creates constant chaos within yourself, your body, your world. See, in a body on a planet, if we look at the whole ideal of normalcy, getting sick in hypothetical flu season, having organs dysfunction, having to be on a lifelong detox, I mean, that's not how things were created. That was man-made. And in reality, as you become this and that you are, what happens here is that there's no need for a hospital. There's no need for inoculations. There's no need for eye doctors, medical doctors, dentistry, blah, 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 because your body matches your frequency. So you're integrating through it, speeding up the body's vibratory levels, where the body literally, now we're playing with total perfection of how and what the body was created as, which is optimum health and well-being and homeostasis, and how it literally, I mean, the whole ideal of aging and being an infant, toddler, adolescent, young adult, and then middle-aged, then elderly. Well, once again, let's all remember that was made from the karmic lattice work. It was also made from the mind. Your body, as the vehicle that it is, in its total perfection, total light bodies, and you fully integrating, marrying, and flourishing through it, even your body is so resilient that it will continue to regenerate, to where, why would it have default if you have no default? Why would it go up and down when you don't go up and down? You're constantly accelerating. So that's what I would say life mastery is. And where we say family monads, loved ones, where we say it and we really mean it, is dear ones that you have a different form of relationship with, but yet it's still that constant emanation of that light, of that creator consciousness, of that love beingness that it really is of great gratitude, great expression, great connection. And then I would hope eventually you'd feel that way for everyone, because that's where in your life mastery, you have to really look at what, how, and why have all these separations, segregations, fear thy neighbor, and all that fun stuff ever appear. You go back to the biblical encodement, the 10 technically commitments. I commit not to covet my neighbor's wife, or maybe for females, neighbor's husband. I mean, who knows? Or it could be still a neighbor's wife these days. But from here, it's interesting, right? Those were just simple directions. There's no fire and brimstone behind it. It was just simple, almost like looking in a how to manual of functioning in a body on a planet in your fullest of potential in society and for yourself personally.
In being our true essence, our loving creator consciousness essence, how does that correlate in mastering our emotions?
So let me ask you, Michael, what is an emotion?
It's a feeling with judgment.
But when that judgment is created, whether it's, and pain is bad, comfort is good, and the point of life is just be undisturbed, it's that state where emotion comes from that judgment. The judgment is made, in really putting this in perspective, you as creator, when you command, like let there be light, let there be an ocean, or even before the word ocean was created. Well, it's interesting, right? Because that's when you start making these decisions. Really, you as creator, let there be light, and there was light. Let there be a big puddle of water, there was the ocean. Now, you look at that, let there be foliage, let there be fruit, let there be abundance, milk and honey, blah, blah, blah. Well, and so it was. Now, you look at that on a broader perspective. Now, let's bring it into the physical perspective. You're taught as a young one, going out in the street is, quote, dangerous. Look both ways. Stealing from your neighbor is not a good idea. And if you do, you're bad, you're guilty, basically, you're sentenced to hell. You're a male, so you do this. You're a female, so you do that. You're a good boy, good girl, boy, bad girl. You're a good student, not a good student. I mean, all this stuff. You're smart, you're ignorant. These are all judgments that your creator, just like when you said, let there be light, you're saying, oh, I'm ignorant. And it's not just about the words. It's that you made that decision as a manifestation. Therefore, you have more and more situations unfolding in your life to prove that judgment to be true. Now, with that judgment, when you put it in place, the energy that would normally be constant gets blocked. It gets blocked behind that judgment, and it builds up and builds up. That's what you call nervous breakdowns or blowing a gasket, losing it, and all this fun stuff. That's what has been feeding that judgment to stay a judgment. And that's called emotion. And what I see is what I believe, and all this fun stuff about a self that is not a real self. It's not even a true self. It's not even a valid self. It's a perceptual identity that's been made up within and throughout the ego from all these judgments that were made to create a Michael or a William or a Mary, a Jennifer, and then all the definitions that go with all that stuff. And or more judgments that have been taken in, contained, and this thing called a self-image was built about, okay, I'm a good boy, I'm a good girl. I'm not a good boy, I'm not a good girl. There's something wrong with me because I cannot, lift a quadrillion pounds if you have a male structure. Something wrong with me if you're female and you don't like kids, and maybe you don't like cooking. I mean, these are all stereotypes, but it's being given as self-images to define if you're lovable, good enough, or not. So therefore, emotion in your life, yes, there's times where things occur. Everything's occurring constantly, simultaneously, but it becomes an issue when, like you're talking about mastering your emotions. So we go through this journey. We get up in the morning, have a cup of coffee, greet the day, greet our partners, our beloved brides, husbands, however, kids. And then we get ready for work or whatever you're going to do. I mean, if you're a housekeeper, a stay at home parent, great. Now we get ready for that. Now, let's say one of the children act out or traffic is backed up for 1,000 miles or something. And you look at your clock, you're looking back at the road, looking back at your clock, looking back at the road. Now, I want you to feel that with me, that sense of urgency and all the emotion behind it. Many go into what's called road rage. Some, they kind of lose a gasket. Some, they become postal and all that fun stuff. But now, let's just sit right there and let's just ask ourselves, what's the big deal? If you're late, you're late. If you're not, you're not. And I ask you to question yourself about this because, I'm a good little worker. I get there on time, never been late in my life, blah, blah, blah. Well, what does that mean for you? You're still you, whether you're late every day. But what does late even mean? Because from the whole universe, divine order saying you're there right when it was conducive and complimentary for you to be there. And then you'll even start finding out, say you were 10 minutes late, say you were 10 minutes early. Well, you might be 10 minutes early because traffic was wide open and the accident was behind you. And that's because you're dancing with the divine flow. You're dancing with yourself, your higher levels, the universe, and you're not trying to push the envelope. Now, let's say you're 10 minutes late. This is where it becomes interesting as you look at, oh, if I was there 2 minutes earlier, I would have been involved in blah, blah, blah. If I was there 8 minutes earlier, well, this would have happened, that would have happened. Oh, man, how blessed I am. And then you get to the office, you find out that 6 minutes ago, someone had emotional breakdown or your boss was yelling and screaming and rampeting all around. By divine order, you're being assisted, you're being watched over, you're being guided. And I say guided, not from some big giant outside deity somewhere. You're being guided from your higher levels to keep you out of harm's way and to keep that vibratory level constantly growing and growing. And I say vibratory level based in love, light beingness, joy, bliss, exuberance, excitement, your very passion and the passion of your heart and the expression of your heart through your heart. And as you emanating through the heart, which is constantly unveiling, unfolding, and speeding up and opening up. Now you go back to emotion and why should you have been on time? Why should you have been late? Why should you have been earlier? And here's a little ego. And the ego is where the judgments are that create the buildup of energy behind it, called emotion, that starts to filter all this. So you start to ask it, what does being late even mean? Much less, where am I in such a hurry to and why? And why am I putting my very ego identity on the line to decide I'm a good worker, I'm a bad worker, or dinner's not done at 6, so I'm a bad bride, bad husband, trash wasn't taken out, I'm a bad husband, bad bride, whatever it may be for you personally. But why does any of that have an ego identity representation of yourself?
So, what I hear you saying is, as we're sitting there in the car, maybe the music's on and there's all this traffic, and we notice that we're probably going to be late, as we are our loving divine presence, which is a high vibration within us. It's at that moment that if we notice our ego mind coming in and judging the situation, that we have the opportunity to make a decision.
Yeah. And one of the big decisions I would look at, because the ego's a funny one, whether it's a traffic jam, whether it's weather, tornadoes, whatever. Well, the ego's a funny one, how it constantly tries to make it about you. So I say, well, everyone, there's this big traffic jam that's blocking me from getting to work on time. And, there's this tornado, it hit my home personally because of me, and it's like, really? No, it's not about you. That's the ego playing its funny games. trying to hijack you into making yourself smaller as this tiny little identification of a perceptional self image, an image of a false self as well. That's all basically in the head and based from all those judgments that said, I am so important. I'm this, I'm that, I'm that, I'm this, and I deserve blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's all ego nonsense. What happens when we just take a breath? And I do encourage you for self talk to say, you know what? It's not about me. And your head shrinks about 20 times smaller because you're getting out of having a big head, which means big ego. And so, ego, where are you coming from with this? And ego, how is or has this perception played out in my life? And then with everything, there's a benefit. So, how has this judgment that I took on, bought into hook, line, and sinker, and all this emotion, how has it worked for me? What has been the benefit of it? Because there is benefits, like someone's running around as an anger monster. Well, okay, now you get to see that whole polarity, but look at how much of that anger, rage energy you use for not giving up, giving in, for not just laying there and ceasing to exist. But then, of course, you overcome it. To now, you no longer require that motivation. You no longer require keeping other dear ones at a distance, because part of that would be from being hurt from the exponential world, whether it be parents, siblings, humanity, whatever it may be for yourself personally. But now we get to a point where we outgrow that, to where now we look at, okay, I can see the benefit, because we're not rejudging the judgment as now I'm really bad because I have anger issues, blah, blah, blah. Well, no, let's not feed it. Let's really take a breath, find a benefit so you can fully, thoroughly, clearly release it.
And another complementary question that was presenting to me is, how best can I use this time? In this traffic jam example, there's an opportunity as well, or asking the question possibly of, how can I stay in this high vibration?
And it's one of those things where, universally speaking, sometimes it really is to get you to stop and smell the roses. Look to the left of you, look to the right of you, look in front of you, look behind you. And where we're able at that moment to acknowledge what's going on, how it's going on, where it's going on, and really acknowledging, all the beautiful dear ones you may most likely never see again, but stopping for a minute and looking to see that light within them, looking at them from the outside looking in. And, I wonder what their life stream's about. And I wonder this. I wonder what gets them out of the bed in the morning. I wonder what motivates them. I wonder what drives them. And see, we start going there. Now we're opening up our senses of creativity. We're opening up and strengthening our abilities, such as intuition, knowingness. And technically speaking, you're opening all yourself right there in that moment. No longer me, self absorbed. You're becoming expansive. You can look down, look how good the asphalt was laid. I mean, there's all kinds of fun things.
Also, the benefit of when you arrive, you are now in an energy of giving and receiving rather than anxiety, lower energies of, I'm a bad person because I'm late.
Yeah, exactly. And then what you really also start to see around you is how much more welcome you are in that place of business or whatever it may be. Now, because you're coming from a whole different vibratory level, you're not waiting to be chastised. And even if someone tried to chastise you, it's one of those things where it takes all of our energy not to laugh, because man, you're taking this a little bit too serious. But from here, where you're not taking it personal, because you know what is, and you know the divine order, you do know the divine synchronicities, and technically you become lighter, brighter, clearer within who you are and emanating that obviously and literally it goes back to conscious cultures matter because this is where you start to watch everything in your physical surroundings, your physical life start to metamorphosize for you.
Well, and I know in thinking of emotional mastery within my life that when I am noticing that I have a lot of emotion and feeling those emotions of anger or frustration or doubt are pulling me down, and then my body also is tired, not as focused. Um, it's just you had mentioned this, it's a real opportunity to look at it and ask myself who's in charge and who do I want to be? How do I want to feel? Do I want my life to be coming from my vibrant essence of my heart, or do I want to keep struggling?
Yeah, and being what I would say, unveiling, opening up, and expressing you, not the little ego chatterbox. And it's like, okay, well, of course you're going to feel drained, like you mentioned. And that's because you're given more power and energy to something other that drains you. Because getting frustrated, angry, frustration is kind of a head scratcher because you get frustrated because things are not going the way you think they should go, not
Right.
the way that you think things should be. And it's kind of like a temper tantrum, like a child that wants everything to be a certain way, but it's kind of funny because it wants a certain way, but then it doesn't know what it wants. So you have all this build up and build up and build up, but now at least we can redirect it. So if I were to feel frustrated or angry, great. Out of love that you are, out of love for whatever project, blah, 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 you may be working on or situation, let's get up. Let's take a deep breath, go outside or hop in the pool or do something different for a little bit. Take a few deep breaths. And then it's funny because you come back more regenerated and exhilarated, but then you come back and the answers start lining up fluidly for you rather than the whole perception of trying to hit your head against the wall, per se.
And that reminds me that you've shared about breathing, breathing in through the nose and then breathing out through the mouth. And I used to always just breathe in and out through my nose. And when I started putting my attention on breathing in through the nose and breathing out fully through the mouth, or you also shared breathe out like you're whistling. And it's when I do that that I feel the vibration even down to my feet.
Exactly. You know why?
No.
I bring up breathing because you don't fully breathe when you're in space and time. When we step back, we take a full breath. It's accessing the whole circulatory system in the body, but it's also a way to break energy with everything going on around, everyone dancing around, whatever's going on. And when you exhale, you're stopped right there, letting everything start to go back to where it belongs, which is happening outside of you and around you. And when you step out of space and time like this, it's no longer happening within you. You're no longer getting hyped or dragged into all the fight and flight, adrenaline, and all that. And it's this place where you're able to step back, let everything be outside of you, regathering yourself. And it does your body a lot of favors because it gets rid of all the wear and the tear. And then we still move forth with whatever we're playing with or working on or adjusting. But now it doesn't own you. You're able to dance through it.
So when we talk about breathing, what I'm noticing is my awareness of the quality of my breath has a distinction of my life mastery
And it decompresses the emotions from the ego.
because it slows everything down.
Well, it does that, then it reharmonizes, and then all this stuff I'm calling wear and tear, but all this emotional baggage, belief systems, judgments, and all that, they also become further away from you because now you're getting oxygenation to the brain as well, to where you can be in your prime, you can be more and more re energized, not suppressing, holding in, or going into lockdown mode, or we can decompress. The world and the colors look brighter. Your life flows easier just by, I guess I would say, just loving yourself that much.
Well, and it provides an opportunity, like I use the term slowing down, to notice my judgments or emotions or body. If it's feeling more dense, then it's slowing me down to be able to notice that and not just be run by the unconscious thoughts and judgments.
That's where, when you're talking about slowing down, it's kind of a oxymoron. You're taking a breath. So, what that means is the mind slowing down, but you're speeding up.
I feel
So,
that now.
yeah, so it's kind of like an oxymoron because we're slowing down all the thought forms, what we're taking in. Because thought forms, mass collective, what that means is mass thought forms floating around. You can actually see when you let your eyes go out of focus, looking up in the air, you see these tiny little, they flash, but they're kind of like little black balls. Some will see gold, some will see black, but nevertheless, they're encapsulated thought forms that are spiraling around you. And then when the mind sees it, it's fine with it. But then when the ego sees it, it tries to bite onto it to take you on this ride that this thought equals that thought, that thought, that thought, and it starts to polarize you to where that's where you're feeling dense, you're feeling contained, you're feeling confined. You're even sometimes feeling pressured. And that's where you really get drained rather than, okay, I see it, I'm aware of it, but it is no longer my master.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for sharing much more about how emotional mastery in our day to day lives has a direct correlation to life mastery, feeling the joy of life, feeling the loving presence that is there for us all the time, because that is who we truly are. So thank you, Will.
And thank you, buddy. And thank you, everyone, for being a part of the relevance of now.
Take care. Namaste.